Assalamu alaikum. Hello and welcome back to another of our sessions. And today we are going to discuss something interesting. I'll be telling you do's and don'ts of the paper. History 2059/01 or Pakistan Studies Paper 1 has a lot of do's that you must take care in the paper and a lot of don'ts also. So let's first start with stuff which you gotta take care of in the paper. For starters, you're given booklets to attempt your answers as candidates. If you run out of the pages of one booklet, you may ask for another because history paper tends to be elaborate and answers tend to be analytical, so they take time and space. Therefore, students now are allowed to ask for another booklet or an additional booklet which you can finish your answers, because history paper is different from geography. Geography has lines already given to you where you have to fit in your answer. However, in history you have an analytical approach and you need to sometimes go into lengthy answer writing, so you would need sometimes an extra booklet. Now you can ask and get it at your CAIE center. Another thing that you may do is, since we have 5 questions in the paper and we are required to do any 3, we have 5 and we are required to do any 3 questions. So for those questions, you may change the sequence of those questions if you want, meaning maybe you've selected to do question 1 is mandatory, so maybe you've selected to do then question 3 and question 5. So it's not necessary that you go about doing question 1, question 3 and then question 5. No, you can change your sequence if you want. You can start with question 5, question 3 then question 1, or you could do question 5, question 1, then question 3. You can change whichever way you want the sequence of the selected questions. However, the sequence of the parts of a question, now this is different. Questions are question 1, question 3, question 5. Parts of a question are question 1, A, B, C, D, question 3, A, B, C, question 5, A, B, C. Now you're required to keep the parts of a question within that question. Like for instance, if I have these fingers and they belong to my right hand, they will stay together with the right hand. If I want to jumble, I can jumble these fingers but of this hand only. Can I jumble these fingers with these fingers? No. Just like that, do not jumble the parts of one question with the parts of another question. Keep them separate. So, even if you're changing the sequence, question 2 first, then question 1, but parts of a question within the same question. You can do question 2 CBA, question 1 DCAB, but do not do 2A, 1A, 3A. No, that's a big no. That's a disqualified paper. So do not attempt that. Parts of a question, within a question you can change the sequence. You can change the sequence of the question, but do not try to interchange the parts, or do not try to do all A's together, all B's. No, not like that. All right. Answers should be in paragraph form. Have you ever looked at long letters that look very boring? Well, as interesting as history becomes with me, our answers will look a little boring. They will look in a complete paragraph form, and they will look as if one point is written in one paragraph, and if a candidate wishes to change the point or change the reason or add another reason, at max you can change the paragraph. That's it. We do not need to make any other bullets or points, etc. Then it is required, normally as a precautionary measure, we tell you to read every question twice. But in our case, in history, I would advise you read every question thrice. Twice before answering and once during answering. Because history has an analytical approach, it does happen a lot of times in 10 and 14 markers that when we are writing, we tend to drift away from our point. If we need to discuss, suppose, reasons of the war, we sometimes tend to drift away from it and we discuss into the after effects of the war. So it is vital that while you're writing the answer, just take a glance on the question again. And just make sure you're on the right track and you're not drifting away from it. All right. Then candidates may use all the abbreviations that are used in the answers or that are used in the textbook. All right. Students are requested to understand the difference between level 2 description and level 3 explanation. Description means identifying causes or events or efforts by merely naming them. If I'm sitting here and I describe myself, I would say, my name is MAHWISH Ahmed, I'm a history teacher, I take online classes, teaching is my passion, that's it. Simple, clear description. Explanation would be different, where I would be exploring the deeper parts of my personality. Just like that, description in the answers means you're just merely mentioning things and you're not really going into a detailed analysis. A lot of kids think that where questions ask explanations, they're merely writing a description and thinking that they've given it the explanation. It does not work like that. Description is a surfaced explanation, and explanation level itself will take you deeper into the analytical aspect of the topic, whichever that you're discussing in the answer. Then, conclusion that can be based on your own judgment, and judgments can be unbiased also. All right. It is better in the history paper to keep a very neutral approach and give a sort of conclusion at the end of 10 and 14 markers. Sometimes a few words can connect our description or explanation to what is asked in the question. I've noticed a lot of you do not have the habit of putting that connecting phrases at the end of a paragraph. For instance, if we are talking about a cause of the War of Independence, at the end of the sentence, it is vital that you mention something like, so this was a cause which led to the people erupt in the War of Independence in 1857. Sentences like these connect our causes or our answer to what is asked in the question. So sentences like these actually hold marks. You can score 3 marks, 4 marks if you put such connecting phrases at the end of each answer. Also, make sure that when you're choosing questions from section B, we have 4 questions in section B and we need to choose any 2. So when you're choosing those 2 questions, base your decision on the 14 marker question, because 14 marker question is the heart of the question. That's going to either make you or break you. Lastly, it is best that in the history paper, you mention dates only when you are very, very sure. Otherwise, stick to the decade, stick to the century. That will also get you your required approach. Thank you for your time, and in the next session, we'll discuss the don'ts of the paper. See you again at Gethikma.